The stimulus package has been signed into law. As most of you are Americans, you should know exactly where this money is going. And so today, I will tell you. To Department of Defense facilities, a total $7.03 billion. $4.2 billion to repair and modernize Department of Defense facilities. $1.3 billion for medical care for service members and their families. $890 million to improve housing for service members. $240 million for new child development centers. $150 million for construction of state extended care facilities. $150 million for an increase of claims processing staff. $150 million to improve facilities of the National Guard. Education, to it a total of $47 billion. $15.6 billion to increase Pell Grants by $500 to $5,350. $12.2 billion for IDEA special education. $2.1 billion for Head Start. $2 billion for childcare services, $650 million for educational technology, $300 million for increased teacher salaries, $250 million for states to analyze student performance, $200 million to support working college students, $70 million for the education of homeless children, energy, a total of $40.75 billion. $11 billion for funding an electric smart grid, $6.3 billion for state and local governments to make investments in energy efficiency, $6 billion for renewable energy power generation loans, $5 billion for weatherizing modest-income homes, $4.5 billion for state and local governments to increase energy efficiency in federal buildings, $4.3 billion for carbon capture experiments, $2.5 billion for energy efficiency research, $2 billion for car battery research, $500 million for training green-collar workers, $400 million for electric vehicle technologies, $300 million to buy energy-efficient appliances, $300 million for reducing diesel fuel emissions, $300 million for state and local governments to purchase energy-efficient vehicles, $250 million to increase energy efficiency in low-income housing. Environmental cleanup, a total of $6.9 billion. $6 billion for the cleanup of radioactive waste, $600 million for the cleanup of hazardous waste that threaten health and the environment, $200 million to clean up petroleum tanks from underground storage tanks, $100 million to evaluate and clean up brownfield land. Government technology improvements, a total of $864 million. $500 million to update the computer center at Social Security Administration, $290 million to upgrade IT platforms at the State Department, $50 million for IT improvements at the Farm Service Agency, $24 million to improve security systems at Department of Agriculture headquarters. Healthcare, a total of $24.1 billion. $19 billion for health information technology, $2 billion for community health centers, $1.1 billion to research the effectiveness of certain healthcare treatments, $1 billion to fight preventable chronic diseases, $500 million to train healthcare personnel, $500 million for healthcare services on Indian reservations. Housing, a total of $12.69 billion. $4 billion for repairing and modernizing low-income housing, $2.25 billion in tax credits for financing low-income housing construction, $2 billion for Section 8 housing rental assistance, $2 billion to help communities purchase and repair foreclosed housing, $1.5 billion for rental assistance and housing relocation, $510 million for the rehabilitation of Native American housing, $200 million for helping rural Americans buy homes, $130 million for rural community facilities, $100 million to help remove lead paint from public housing. Hunger assistance, a total of $20.25 billion. $19.9 billion for the food stamp program, $150 million to refill food banks, $100 million for meal programs for seniors, such as Meals on Wheels, $100 million for free school lunch programs. Job assistance, a total of $4.97 billion. $3.95 billion for job training, $500 million for vocational training for the disabled, $400 million for employment services, $120 million for subsidized community service jobs for older Americans. Other infrastructure projects, a total of $17.355 billion. 4.6 billion for the Army Corps of Engineers for environmental restoration, flood protection, hydropower, and navigational infrastructure projects. 4 billion for the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, wastewater treatment infrastructure improvements. 2 billion for Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, drinking water infrastructure improvements. 1.38 billion for rural drinking water and waste disposal projects. 1 billion to the Bureau of Reclamation for drinking water projects for rural or drought-likely areas. 750 million to the National Park Service. 650 million to the Forest Service. 515 million to Wildfire Prevention Services. 500 million for the Bureau of Indian Affairs infrastructure projects. 280 million to the National Fish Hatchery System. 250 million to improve Job Corps training facilities. 220 million for the International Boundary and Water Commission to repair flood control systems along the Rio Grande. 220 million for other public lands management agencies. 50 million for the National Endowment of the Arts to support artists. Other job programs. Total 5.51 billion. 4 billion for state and local law enforcement agencies. 1 billion in preparation for the 2010 census. 210 million to build up and upgrade fire stations. 150 million for the security of transit systems. 150 million for the security of ports. Other worker assistance programs. Total 7.27 billion. 4.2 billion to provide additional supplemental security income and Social Security disability insurance payment in 2009. 1 billion to community action agencies. 1 billion for community and economic development projects. 500 million to help the Social Security Administration process disability and retirement claims. 200 million for AmeriCorps programs. 140 million for independent living communities. 100 million for food, shelter, and support services. 80 million to the Department of Labor Worker Protection and Oversight Agency to enforce worker protection laws. Scientific research. Total 17.55 billion. 8.7 billion to the National Institutes of Health. 3 billion to the National Science Foundation, 2 billion to the United States Department of Energy, 1.3 billion for university research facilities, 1 billion to NASA, 600 million for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, 580 million to the National Institute of Standards and Technology, 230 million for NOAA operations, research, and facilities, 140 million to the United States Geological Survey. Telecommunications and digital TV. Total 7.85 billion. 7.2 billion for complete broadband and wireless internet access. 650 million for DTV conversion coupons and DTV education. Transportation projects. Total 48.76 billion. 27.5 billion for highway and bridge construction projects. 8 billion for high-speed rail projects. 6.9 billion for new equipment for public transportation projects. 1.5 billion for competitive grants to state and local governments for transportation investments. 1.3 billion for Amtrak. 1.1 billion for improving airport security. 750 million for the construction of new public rail transportation systems. 750 million for the maintenance of existing public transportation systems. 720 million for the improving security of the border and ports of entry. 240 million for the maintenance of United States Coast Guard facilities. Finally, Veterans Affairs facilities. Total 1.05 billion. 1 billion for the Veterans Health Administration and 50 million for the National Cemetery Administration. That is where your stimulus money goes. Nathan, I will see you on Friday.